Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems and welcome back to MX's ATV Reflex, where today we're going to be playing the 2016 RedBud National made by Gary664 and talking about the 2020 RedBud 2 National that just happened. Again, if you're new to these videos or maybe you're clicking on this way in the future at some point, basically what I do here is I just play a version of the track that is raced in real life, in this case RedBud, and talk about the racing on track that happened. It's sort of like a podcast, I guess you could say, but in a sense it's kind of a way for you guys to be able to watch some cool gameplay on a track maybe you haven't seen, and then we talk a little bit about the race, have a good time, and head out on our merry way on this lovely day wherever you are in this world. So, spoiler alert, again, if you haven't already seen it, RedBud 2 National happening on Monday, so some of you, probably not many of you would have been at work. It was Labor Day, so I think a lot of you probably got a chance to actually watch this one, unlike the race that was on Friday. But the second of the double headers happened, has gone through, and let's talk about it. And we'll start off with the 450 class as usual, kind of get through all of that craziness, and then move on to the 250 class for the second half of this video. But the 450 class, we have a brand new winner, ladies and gentlemen. That is right, in his rookie season, Adam Cianciarulo has won an outdoor national, going 1-3. Very well could have gone 1-1 or potentially gotten close to it at least, but it ended up going 1-3 on the day to score the win in what was a pretty wild day of racing. It wasn't straightforward by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely wasn't, in my opinion, as straightforward as RedBud 1 was, and I'll talk a little bit about why I felt that might have been the case this time around. But anyway, Cianciarulo is finally a winner in the 450 class, and he is now just a Supercross win on a 450 away from completing the quadfecta, I guess it's being dubbed, which is a very kind of rare achievement that you wouldn't expect, which is winning at least one race in 250 indoors and outdoors, and 450s indoors and outdoors. Obviously, Cianciarulo, an outdoor champion, won races last year on a 250, and pretty dang close to winning an indoor title on a 250 several times. Won a lot of races. Now he's won a 450 race outdoors, and just has that 450 Supercross win to tick off. But I think he has some championship aspirations on his mind eventually. Unfortunately, I think for him this year, I don't know if those championship aspirations are going to be a reality. He is going, or he moved up into 4th in the championship actually with this win. And I'll talk about the championship scenario in a minute, but he's pretty far down. I think he's 47 back with 4 rounds to go. That is big points haul to come or to overcome to get up into a situation where he could win this championship. But I think the only way it would happen is if something dramatic happens to Zach Osborne at this point. So anyway, championship not really a potential for Cianciarulo this year, let's say, but still really cool to see him get his first win. You know, I have one of the unique perks with my the new job that I have at Racer X. I have some closer friends at Racer X now that I didn't ever have before, and with that I'm in a group text with Steve Mathis, Jason Thomas, and Tampa Bay Rays minor league catcher Chris Betts, and we usually just do it to talk about baseball, but as Steve and JT have been at the races lately and haven't had service during the days, I feel like I've had to be Chris Betts's, like, I don't know, shrink, I guess, to help him through the races, because he's a huge Adam Cianciarulo fan. Him and AC are buddies. I think they've been buddies for quite a few years at this point, but obviously Betts has been kind of like more at the forefront of moto of late because Cianciarulo has been doing very well. So by trade, I feel like Chris Betts has kind of come to the forefront as like, look, we've got this baseball player that is a big fan of somebody, and he's gotten a lot of attention. But anyway, he is hilarious when Cianciarulo is out front because it's like hyperventilation and all kinds of stuff going on, and it's like, don't worry, he'll settle down, and he's always asking like, dude, is he gonna do it? Can he hold on and stuff like that? It's really great fun. Just little insights there into some stuff that maybe you guys don't see behind the scenes. But anyway, yeah, I'm really pumped for Cianciarulo just because I think that this was a good way to win your first national. I think obviously going 1-1 is a great way to do it, and he darn near got that done as well. But it's a good way to do it because it wasn't like a give me. There's still pretty much everybody on the track, I think, is still absolutely going for race wins. This wasn't round 9 of the series where the title's wrapped up. Everybody wants to just go home. Nothing to play for except, you know, that bonus money for winning the races. So because of it, I felt like it was very well earned and deserved in that sense. And I think that he can definitely like hang his hat on that and give himself like a big boost of confidence moving forward, that this is something that he can repeat and it won't be too much of an issue. Because I feel like that's sometimes a thing that happens is you get a guy that comes up, he's a rookie in the 450 class, goes a whole year or two without winning a race, and then it gets in his head where it's like, man, these things are tough to win. Like, these guys are really, really talented riders, and to beat them, you have to be on the top of your game. Obviously, in this case, Cianciarulo pretty much was on the top of his game. He rode very well. The first moto was some of the best riding I feel like we've ever seen out of AC. It's tough to compare that just because, you know, 250 to 450, I feel like there's probably times where he felt better on a 250 than what he was putting down in the first moto. But to have Eli Tomac find his groove in the second half of that moto, catch him, and then Cianciarulo basically responded to that pressure by upping his pace and matching Tomac lap for lap, corner for corner, didn't put a foot wrong, held the pressure nice and steady, and brought home that first moto win, which was the first moto win of his career. I think that's just like a true testament to kind of mentally where AC already is in this class. He's a rookie, but he's already kind of to the point where he's like, no, I belong here. And he's not going to crack under pressure from his veteran three-time outdoor champion teammate. He's going to, push the limits and try to find that next zone so that he can hold on for a race win and not think about what's going on behind him. In fact, I asked him in the press conference when he lost the lead at Ironman about, I think that was like 6 or 7 minutes before the moto was over. He lost the lead and then dropped to fourth immediately. And I had asked him if he was aware of how many riders are behind him, and I really liked his answer when he said that he doesn't ever think about the riders behind him. He pretty much just always puts his head down and looks forward. And he basically went on to say that he thinks that everybody in this class is so good that he always expects everybody is still right behind him. So when he got past, it was like, yeah, that makes sense that so many people went by because they should all still be there. Everybody who's really good in this class. So like that answer. But anyway, Cianciarulo gets the win. Really cool to see. The championship scenario in this 450 class, though, is where I think the storyline from RedBud 2 lies. And I talked in my previous review video from RedBud 1 about how I felt if Zach Osborne did something that was repeated to what he did at RedBud 1, which was go 1-1, extend his championship lead. Tomac was 43 points down at that point. If Osborne could do something similar to that at RedBud 2, that I felt the championship was almost being put out of reach at that point, because I don't think someone like Marvin Musquin at this point is going to go on a torrid stretch down the end and win every moto or anything like that. It would pretty much be down to like Tomac to do that. And if Tomac's at too big of a disadvantage, he can't overcome that gap. Well, now we're there, I think. Tomac, he had a good first moto, obviously coming through to get second. But the second moto, he fell early, fell in the second corner with Jeremy Smith, who everybody knows from MX Simulator. Fell in the second corner, got himself back up, but it just, he had a huge haul through the field to get through, and he got up to 7th in the end, which was really good, like, salvage ride at the end of the day. But lost points to Osborne on the day. Osborne ends up on the box overall. I think, if I remember right, Osborne went 4-2, I believe. Finished, second in that second moto behind Blake Baggett, and extended his points lead by, let me do that quick math. I think it's 49 points now over Tomac, but let me just double check that in my own brain. So 2 and then another 2, so now that'd be 4. So he's 47, so Cianciarulo and Tomac are tied. That's right, that makes sense. Cianciarulo and Tomac tied 47 back. 47 back is huge to overcome in 4 rounds, if that's what we get in. I mean, there's still the speculation that some of these races are, who knows. It sounds like Thunder Valley just got approved to host their national, which is going to be the penultimate round, the second to last round. I still beg to differ about whether or not Paula is going to happen. We'll see. But either way, 4 rounds to go. Let's just say there is exactly 4 rounds to go. 8 motos, 47 points. Like, you need a big break to win a championship from that far back. And I don't want to say Eli Tomac is out of this championship, but I think he is. I don't think you can come back from that far. Like, if I'm saying the same thing about Cianciarulo being 47 down, having come off his first win, could go on a great stretch down the end here, win a bunch of races or whatever. I don't think he can come back from that far, either of them. And, you know, I'm kind of shocked that we're already to this point. Like, I get that the season's going to be shorter and it's going to come at us faster, but it just seemed like this all snowballed so fast with the double DNF, and then Tomac won Ironman, but then RedBud 1 wasn't exactly like setting the world on fire, and then this one, I guess you could say he kind of set the world on fire in both motos, but he didn't win either moto either. Eli Tomac has still only won one moto this entire season in his title defense. Different guy for sure, in my opinion. I think that these guys have raised their game. You could definitely say Osborne has picked it up to a new level that we haven't seen out of him just yet. I don't think Tomac has really changed that much, except for he's gotten just slightly worse. But it's just so much different compared to what we've seen before, where Tomac could stretch it out through the entire moto and do his beast mode laps, which is like qualifying pace stuff late in races. Doesn't seem like he has that same ability this year. I'm not sure what it is. People are going to say it's a Supercross hangover, but unfortunately, I think that this is one of the few years where you can't give him that benefit of the doubt, because there was such a big break between Supercross and outdoors. Being a new father, I get it, probably took a little bit more time away from him, but he still had, what, 2.5 months? Something like that? Big gap from the end of Supercross to outdoors, and maybe it is just the weight lifted from winning the Supercross title finally off of his shoulders. He can put everything behind him. He's won his outdoor titles. He's won a Supercross title. He feels good about it all. But I don't know. To me, that just doesn't really like scream championship mentality or like elite level rider or something like that. Because I guarantee you the several years that Carmichael won Supercross titles, he went into outdoors even more pissed off, I think, that he had won a title just prior and was about to lay claim to everybody outdoors. And then you could probably say the same for Stu, who crashed all the time, and then Villapoto was always ridiculous outdoors, and Dungey always came to play every year too. And I'm not saying Tomac isn't coming to play for this outdoor championship, but something is clearly amiss with him, and I think he just has to kind of get his mojo rolling again before we see it again. But that's just so weird how quickly this snowballed into a championship fight that's going to be lost. That's kind of crazy that with how many people are out, no Roxon, no Anderson, no Cooper Webb, and Eli Tomac is not going to four-peat. And of all people, you would think, yeah, maybe Marvin, maybe Barsha, I guess you could say, because he's won races before, he's been in the hunt before. I don't think I would have picked Zach Osborne to win this championship, ladies and gentlemen, but we're looking at this as a real possibility with 4 rounds to go. 26-point lead on Marvin. I believe he's about 36 or so points ahead of Barsha now. 47 points ahead of Cianciolo and Tomac, and man, he is in a great position to bring this thing home. Now, mathematically speaking, this never happens. It won't happen. But if Musquin did win every single moto down the stretch, all 8 motos down the stretch, and Osborne finished second in all 8 motos down the stretch, again, astronomically rare, it would probably never happen. Osborne is still your champion as it sits right now, so that's just to give you an indication, the cushion that he has with the time remaining in this championship. It's come down quite a bit in just this one weekend to go from, oh, we're only a third of the way in the championship to now we're over halfway done. There's only 4 left to go. We're coming into the finish of the second third of the championship. This is going to be put behind us pretty quick, and at the moment, I've definitely got Zach Osborne as this champion, if you will, for this 450 class. But anyway, 15 minutes pretty much or so talked about 450s here. So let's move on to our 250 class, because I feel like this is where I want to talk a little bit about the drama that's building in this class and ask you guys the comment question of the day. And I'll lead into it with it. In the first moto, Jeremy Martin was running, I believe it was 5th or 6th or so. Dylan Ferrandis caught him, and they were set to battle, and they pretty much ran nose to tail for 3 or 4 laps. It was a very close battle. You got the feeling at some point Ferrandis was going to go by. He looked faster, he looked more comfortable, and was taking some better lines. And then at the little tabletop before the leap, Larocco's leap on the back section of the track from where I am now, Ferrandis tried to take an opportunity that he felt was there, like the door had swung open and shot down the inside to try to make a move on Martin. Martin had no clue he was there, very evident in the way that it all unfolded. and started kind of shutting the door off to get to the inside of the corner, which he was already going to go to anyway. Like where Ferrandis tried to make a pass, like not many people tried that all day long. It was tough to get a run there anyway, but even so, you had to really outbrake yourself into some pretty deep braking bumps that seemed almost impossible to manage. Comes in, gets almost alongside Martin to the point where they touched elbows, and this is what initiated the fall. But then they both fall, and Martin kind of flips over the front of his bike. Ferrandis just kind of tucks to the left side on the embankment on the left side. And Martin gets up and kind of waves his arms like, what the heck, dude? And Ferrandis gets going ahead of him. Ferrandis ended up finishing ahead of him. But here's my comment question of the day to you lovely people out there. I saw a lot of blowback on Twitter that Ferrandis' move was dirty, over the top. He takes out Geico Honda riders. So my question of the day to you guys is, where do you think this incident falls to you? Is this a racing incident? Is this Ferrandis being dirty? Is this J-Mart being unaware? I don't really have a firm opinion of it myself just yet because I haven't actually sat down and listened to what they both said about it. I know that they had some comments about it at after the race, and they just had the post-race press conference this afternoon, which I did not sit in on. I was taking care of my child, but I haven't listened to their thoughts yet, so I don't really have like a firm opinion on this yet. I have a hunch of where I feel about it, and I'm going to stick to that hunch, but I just want to hear what you guys think about it, and then I'll come down to the comment section below and bench race my opinion on it as well. Because like I said, I guess I was a little bit shocked by the blowback so fast. So many people immediately saying like, Ferrandis dirty, that was a bad move and stuff like that. I get it. I get where people are coming from, but I also get the other flip side of the coin, which is, it's racing incident. Rubbing's racing. They were side by side. It wasn't a T-bone. They barely fell. Like, it was a pretty soft fall in the end. But still, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it. And we'll leave it at that as we move on to the rest of the day. So after that moto, which I believe Ferrandis was able to finish up in 6th in, and Martin finished 11th. Ferrandis had obviously closed the points gap down a little bit. Not a bunch, but a little bit. And then second moto, J-Mart goes out. I think it was pretty early he got into the race lead, right? Either whole shot or it was early, I think, and got the race lead and pretty much just maintained a gap out front. He had to pass Masterpool, right? Yeah, Masterpool was out front, so he passed him. And then maintained the gap out front and just won the moto. I mean, there wasn't much to it because it wasn't really any pressure from behind for most of the race for him. What the story was, though, was Dylan Ferrandis coming from yet another bad start because he just can't seem to buy a start most of the time, and charging his way forward. And I couldn't believe he got second in that moto, but he did. So he finished second in the moto, actually gained some points back on Martin on the day because of the disparagement between the two in the first moto. Even though the 3 points lost for Ferrandis in the second moto, he still gained more points on the day. I think it was only like 2 or 3 points in the end, but it was a gain. And when you think about it in the broad terms of it, Ferrandis actually didn't have that good of a day. The second moto was great to get to second, but a bad start in the first moto, then the contact with J-Mart, and then not, finishing very strong in the first moto either. The reality of it is that he, once again, had another, day that he would like to forget because he's the guy that wants to go out there and win every round anyway. So to leave this with points gained on J-Mart, I think is huge for him because I think he needed to, more or less stop the bleeding that's been happening. J-Mart has been chunking points away with these overall wins that he's been having. And with it, Ferrandis has gone from a fairly comfortable points lead to a non-existent points lead to a points deficit. And it needed to, stop pretty quickly, which at least this time the bleeding has stopped a little bit now. Whether that turns into overall wins, race wins moving forward, I don't know, because he sounded like he was pretty banged up from the crash on Friday. Shoulder was a little bit dinged up. He, I guess, made it through concussion protocols and all that, which was fine, but still it was lingering effects, and I was kind of surprised to see how well the adrenaline for him kicked in late in some of those motos. But hopefully for his sake, he doesn't have any injuries that are going to last the rest of the season for him, some shoulder tightness or anything like that, and he can just kind of go out and race these things as hard as he wants. either way, though, the reality is that this championship is definitely between the two of them, and now there's some beef potentially between them. Even if they made up after the race, Francis went over and talked to him, and I think on some level they're all good now, but I think that kind of goes out the window when you put the helmets on and start the moto, and you know, Martin gets to the same stretch of track as Francis and remembers, yeah, last time we were this close together, I ended up on the ground, he ended up on the ground. Like, definitely going to race him differently now, even if we are okay about the situation and we talked it through. I think those guys never really do fully put it behind them. So I kind of like where this is headed, because this is an interesting two-horse race. Francis, probably the faster rider, but doesn't ever get good starts, trying to win this championship for his first time ever, because this is the last time he's going to have a chance at it. He's out of the class next year onto a 450. And J Mart looking for his third outdoor title of his career, and he does get a chance to defend next year. He will be back on the 250 next year as well. So two very different frameworks, storylines, whatever you want to draw conclusions from this. But I like where this is at with 4 rounds to go. This is a hero-villain type of series scenario. Two guys that are going to absolutely send it down the stretch to try to win this championship, and that's everything we ever wanted out of it as fans, I would assume. At least it is for me. I don't know, maybe you guys feel differently, but I'm definitely excited for it. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Moving on from the championship scenario, though, because that's kind of what I led into here, RJ Hampshire won his second career overall, and he did it by, unfortunately for him, losing positions in the very late stages of both motos. He probably would have won the first moto if he didn't almost fall and coughed it up to Shane McElrath, who did end up winning the first moto, his first moto win of 2020. And then in the second moto, Hampshire was second forever, just kind of, you know, keeping J Mart in check ahead of him, but he was going to be perfectly fine with that 2-2 to win the overall. And Francis just ran him down late and got a pass on him, and just, you could tell that, like, once the pass was made, Hampshire was just like, how did this happen to me twice? Like, 2 times late in the motos that I felt like I was in a position to salvage this position that I already was in, either leading or in second in the moto, in the second moto there, and got passed late, but didn't matter in the end because the overall scores were so all over the place that his 2-3 scores were good enough to win him the overall, which is really cool to see, because for those of you that maybe don't remember this, Hampshire got knee reconstructive surgery. He had a torn ACL that he was trying to race through in Supercross, and he was going to get it fixed after this outdoor season if everything else had stayed normal before COVID happened. So when COVID happened, he thought, from everything that he had heard and what Feld was saying, that the Supercross season wouldn't even be restarted until late, you know, in the fall, maybe September or October. At least, you know, Feld was pretty adamant in saying that that was a possibility early on in the stages. So Hampshire went pretty quickly under the knife to get his knee fixed. It was in late March, I think, and obviously the series was delayed in early March. And then, lo and behold, like a month later, they announced, no, we're going to try to go racing in July. We're going to try, or in June, we're going to try to get this series all the way done so that we can, you know, let these guys start pro motocross without having to think about Supercross on the backside of it. And Hampshire kind of got screwed because the whole purpose of him fixing his knee at that time was like, okay, I'm going to take this now and probably sit out whatever outdoor series happens to come back fresh and try to challenge for the East Coast title in Supercross, which maybe he could have, you know. He was in a fairly good position points-wise still. Sexton and McElrath had some interesting things happen to them down the stretch in Supercross, and I think Hampshire still kind of looks at that as like, man, that was what I was hoping for, like those guys to have weirdo moments and pounce on it and maybe win that championship. So he still has a little bit of a bitter taste in his mouth from that. So that's why it's cool to see him win this overall here at RedBud too, because it kind of gives him a little bit of reprieve that he got the surgery. Yes, he probably went through like just frustrating levels amount that he was like, I wanted to race Supercross. I got this fixed for Supercross, and then I'm going to have to race outdoors instead if I even can get healthy in time, because outdoors is going to start at this time, and da-da-da-da-da. So to see him win an overall was really cool. You could tell it was a big moment for him. I believe he has a daughter now that he did not have when he won his first overall 2 years ago on a Geico Honda. So just cool to see. Like, it's just nice to see a fresh face atop the podium. It really did seem like Martin and Ferrandis kind of had this thing in terms of race wins and overall wins down the stretch, but no, we have McElrath winning a moto and Hampshire winning the overall. That's just kind of cool to see a little bit more parity mixed into the class here, even though it is going to be a Martin Ferrandis battle to the death for the championship. Hampshire winning the overall and McElrath winning a moto was just kind of cool to see. So I like those two feel-good stories from there. Yeah, throughout the field, though, I just don't think that there's, I guess, a ton else to talk about because this championship scenario is that much more unique to bring up in this situation coming down the stretch. I guess I could mention how well my fantasy team was. I played PulpMX Fantasy. I ended up 63rd overall in the championship league for the week, which is my second round in a row of being top 100 in the championship league. So I'm now 197th in the championship league, which is kind of nuts because there's like thousands upon thousands of people that play. So I'm kind of surprised that I'm that high up because normally I'm not that great at fantasy. I'm sure my good streak will come to an end at the next round of Millville, but we'll see. But that is where we're headed next, is Millville. Supposedly that is just going to be one round at Millville, but there is so many rumors flying around of WW Ranch might not happen. A lot of people were saying Colorado won't happen, but like I said, I saw a tweet pretty much courtesy of Dio. Everybody remembers Return of Dio. Probably actually follow him on YouTube, some of you guys. He tweeted it out that it looked like Thunder Valley had gotten the letter from the local government that they were going to be able to host the Nationals, so that's at least good news there. That might end up being the final round. We don't know yet. But there's also some people in the pits that were saying, like, yeah, we're going to have 4 Millvilles. Like, we're just going to wrap up the season. We're going to do 4 straight Millvilles, and we're going to be done. So who knows? That's still a rumor floating out there that is a potential, I guess. I doubt that's exactly how it's going to happen. But the reality is they're trying to get 9 rounds in, so they have 4 rounds left to go. They have Millville for sure coming up. They might have 2 Millvilles. They might cut WW. They might cut Paula. They might go to High Point still. There's so much up in the air with this schedule that isn't 100% locked in just yet. So keep an eye out. Log into racerxonline.com every day and check that out. I'm over there posting stuff. My guy Mitch Kendra, my boss Jason Wygant, we're putting a lot of work in over there at racerxonline.com to try to bring you guys the news if and when any scheduling updates happen, or just in general some cool features that we post up every week and some videos and stuff like that. Of course, I do my race examination videos over there that I would definitely recommend checking out. Some good fun there, and just a whole host of other content that if you haven't looked already, I would recommend. I would also recommend heading to racerxonline.com/subscribe and subscribing to the magazine. With this crazy year, there's a lot of things up in the air for how everything's going to shake out with 2021 still. So if you could head over to racerxonline.com and just go ahead and subscribe to the magazine. It doesn't cost you that much. You get really great content that you don't get on the website. You even get to see some of my photos in the magazine that I get to take every now and then. So that's always really cool. But it is a way to support me and help me keep a job over there at racerxonline.com, being the online content editor, by subscribing to the magazine. Please, people, do so. And helps me keep a job, like I said. Anyway, that's going to do it here for the RedBud 2 wrap-up. Playing RedBud 2016 on MX's ATV Reflex by Gary664. Shout out to him for the track. The download link is going to be in the description below. And as always, really appreciate you guys stopping by, watching another video here on the channel. And I hope to see you guys in all of our future videos as we continue on with the Nationals. 1 week break coming up, but we'll be back with more content the following week after that. And yeah, hope to see you guys then. But for now, I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys in our next video. So long for now.